The listing of Philips lighting on Euronext late May marked a significant milestone for a business that's been manufacturing light bulbs since 1891. But for us in the IP industry, the deal has extra significance. And that's because shareholders in Philips Lighting will now have a stake not just in 34,000 employees in 20 operations, but also in 14,000 patents. The Chief IP Officer at Royal Philips, Brian Hinman, told me on the sidelines of IPBC Global 2016 here in Barcelona whether that meant that there was now greater transparency as to the value of those patents. Your healthcare business now makes up 40% of your revenues. To what extent are you adopting the same approach as with the lighting business, which you recently listed on Euronext Amsterdam, or have you taken an entirely different approach this time?
I think it's interesting. So the lighting business did IPO a week ago Friday. So very successful standalone business that now exists for a great business, and I think the separation between the health tech environment that's remaining and some of the consumer lifestyle businesses we have, we can have a more centralized, laser-sharp focus on those businesses. And with respect to the portfolio, we have a portfolio that matches those expectations. And so now I'm able to instruct my team, to work with these different discrete businesses that align with each other. So there's lots of overlap amongst the businesses that now exist within Royal Philips. And it makes my job as trying to create a concerted IP strategy much more easy, because then we can work through all the businesses and define the overlaps and to figure out exactly where we need to file and protect the businesses.
But you haven't taken the opportunity of this corporate focus on healthcare to, I guess, fundamentally change the way that you file patents?
No, I think it's the same approach. We go about it the same way, right? It all relates to understanding what the needs of the businesses are. So when the business comes up with their strategic plan on record every year, one of the new things we have is we're inserted in, there's 40 different businesses within Philips. And within each of those businesses, I have a person that works directly with that business, and we have, as a part of that strategic plan of the business, we have specific mention in an elaborate format of the IP strategy that's associated with that. So as the GM of that business describes what their strategy is, he has to take into account the risks and the opportunities that exist with creating a strong portfolio in that business.
With the listing of the lighting business at Euronext Amsterdam, not only was it the 20 manufacturing sites, but also the 14,000 patents that went with it. To what extent can you now that we know that the price per share at listing was 20 euros, and your proceeds were 750 million euros, can we now, in hindsight, ascribe a more definitive value to those 14,000 patents, given that valuing patents is always one of those difficult things?
Valuing patents is very difficult. We went to extreme detail in really figuring out what's essential for that lighting business to succeed. And that's indeed how we came up with the split of the portfolio, to split a portfolio that would fully enable them to do the businesses they want to do now and the business they want to be in the future. And so the value of that is tremendous, because it's full alignment with their product strategy, and the patents that represent that portfolio enables that to happen. So the value is tremendous in that.
But is it possible to define it, put a number to it?
I think it's, there's lots of ways to define value, right? And the way that we do it is a number of different ways. One is they have an ongoing licensing business associated with their very good established licensing program for these solid state lighting within Philips Lighting Solutions. That generates value, right? So you can quantify that through the licensing revenue that's generated. But more often than not, what they have is exclusivity, and part of the exclusive nature of wanting to exclude others from being a part of the areas that they're in is you can extract a value of the premium profits that you can charge, right? And the value of the exclusive nature of being able to do something that nobody else can, because you have patents that block others from doing that. There's a way to prove that value. So yes, there is a way to do it, and I'm sure, I can't speak for the folks over in lighting, but yes, there's a very tangible way to access that value.
Well, and Philips, the group still owns 75%.
Absolutely.
Of the company, so you obviously still have some interest in it.
Yes.
Given the fact that lighting was announced for sale in September 2014, it would seem that people didn't rush to buy the company, and certainly not for its patents. And you also said earlier that standards essential patents, SEPs, are much harder to defend these days. Was the sale, therefore, or the subsequent listing, a recognition that these patents are there to defend traditional market share, as opposed to pushing the innovation boundary and doing more things that would perhaps have ascribed a better value?
Yeah, I think they didn't, I wouldn't necessarily say run into issues with companies not clamoring to come out and buy them. I think there's a lot of intricacies in that industry, in the lighting industry. There's a lot of very large players and a lot of very small players indeed. And it takes the portfolio of products and patents that lighting has is very unique. And it would take a unique buyer to have it fully match and align with the strategy they had. And unfortunately it didn't happen. And so I think this is a good result because the IPO allows them to succeed as a company that they can grow and foster and be in charge of their own destiny without having to be absorbed from another culture of another party. So I think this was the end result. I think if I was speaking for the CEO of lighting, I think this is a good end result for him.